All right, we're live. So excited to kick this off, but I want to wait for Facebook to tell folks that we're on here. And if you're hopping on here and can hear me just fine or are ready for us to go, give me that thumbs up so I know you're tuned in with us. Excellent. It looks like Tina, hello to you, and our board member, Wayne Anderson, are both on here. And Tina is actually a business owner on the Adams County side, Commissioner. So I'm glad that she has hopped on with us. Good morning to you, Wayne, as well. Thank you for hopping on. So I think we're in the interest of time, and I know we have some good content that we want to share and answers to potential questions that come up. I'll go ahead and get this kicked off. Good morning and happy Friday to everybody. It is Friday, thankfully, not that I'm counting down, but I am looking forward to that weekend. And as you all are aware, we've transitioned all of our videos to be more focused on the reopening phase of COVID-19. All of our videos that have been recorded are available to you at any point in time. You can find that on the video section of this page on Facebook or on our YouTube channel as well. Make sure that you like our Westminster Chamber Facebook page, but that you also follow us so you can get those timely updates and alerts that we're live and that you should be part of the discussion. So on Mondays, we have our Mayor Herb Atchison. He'll actually come back this Monday. I know you guys missed him for Memorial Day. They'll be back with us on Monday at 11 a.m. to give us an update from the city lens. Fridays are generally reserved for electeds, and this has ranged from district electeds for our school boards all the way up to our state level, where we've had our state senators and representatives with us. You may have remember or recall that we had Commissioner O'Dorisio about a month ago give us an initial update on Adams County. And well, while that was over a month ago, things have transpired between then and now. So we've decided to bring back with us today Commissioner Chaz Tedesco from District 2 for Adams County. Hello, Commissioner. So excited to have you with us. And we'll kind of share some updates in between. And then we still have 3 more commissioners that I'll include also in the long run, maybe with a wrap up or something as well toward the end. But there are so many things that are going on at the county level that we think is so timely and relevant to continue to have our commissioners as much as possible. And their willingness is always, I love it whenever they say yes. So with that being said, if you're just now tuning in and hopping on, I see Parker Brown. Hello to you, Parker. And anyone else that's hopped on with us. If you have a comment or thought as the commissioner is sharing some updates, type that into the chat section so we can address it. And then if you have a question, we also want that as well. And if for some reason your question is off the wall or completely random and we don't have an answer to it, we'll come back to you with an answer at a later point in time. But I'm excited to have with us Commissioner Tedesco. I will turn this over to you to begin kind of your updates on your end, and then we'll take some Q&A live.
All right, I would love to. Is it okay if I just give everybody a little bit of background on me?
Absolutely.
My name is Charles Chaz Tedesco. Everybody calls me Chaz. I'm a native of Adams County. I was born in Denver General, grew up in Northglenn. I've lived in just about every municipality, including Westminster, right off of 80th and Sheridan. And I lived on the Adams County side. And so, I have a lot of experience within the county. Northglenn High School graduate, then went into the military, served 6 years in the United States Navy. Got out of the Navy as a boiler technician, got a job as a boiler technician, served 26 years as a master mechanic welder fabricator, also served as the president of the United Steelworkers Union and represented Rocky Flats during their closure up until the plant actually closed. And then I continued serving as the president until I became an Adams County Commissioner. I was the legislative and education liaison for the entire district, which is everything West Colorado and West, including Alaska and Hawaii. And I was a political liaison for the state of Colorado, working almost every political campaign since 1990. I have a daughter. My daughter's name is Amber. She just graduated with her master's degree. She is a business accountant. She found a job even in this environment, which is pretty amazing. She will start at PwC and then our PricewaterhouseCoopers. Sorry about the acronyms. And I have she's married to her husband, who's a helicopter pilot, and my wife, Bernadette Tedesco, who actually works for the city of Lakewood. And so that being said,
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
I thank you for your service and for also mentioning your family. I've had the pleasure of meeting your wife. She is just a true delight. But to also be able to see that you've been all over Adams County. And so when you're representing our community, you're representing it as a resident that's lived here for several years and kind of seen it and experienced it through that lens. So again, thank you for your service and for always supporting the county as a resident prior to kind of hopping into the political side of things.
And I appreciate that acknowledgement. I have lived in just about every municipality in Adams County. There are 9 municipalities, and I think the only one I haven't lived in was Federal Heights. And so I grew up in North Glen, right on the corner of 104th and Federal on the North Glen side. So I have a lot of experience with Westminster and some of the things that they've been through, a lot of the issues that they've been going through. What's nice about being an Adams County Commissioner is we serve at large. So we serve all of our communities, and that history with all of those communities helps me a great deal, especially when I'm making decisions on the future of a lot of those communities and the partnerships with Adams County. So it's been a pleasure. It's been really, an amazing thing. The one thing I did not tell everybody is that I am a foster child. I was put into foster care when I was born. I was adopted about five years later. Growing up in a Native American and Hispanic household, being in that environment and learning the different ways that we can survive and live together really helped me in my career, both in the Navy, dealing with foreigners and foreign countries, and going into their places where they live, and really having conversations that were meaningful and helpful. So I'm glad to be here. I think that Adams County has come a long way. Adams County is now one of the most reputable counties that we have out there. I think that's hasn't always been the case. I think there has been a lot of controversy prior to, say, 8 years ago, and we have worked very, very hard to make sure that we are representatives of our communities. I'm not going to be naive and tell you we've made every decision correctly and everybody's great with it. We have made mistakes along the way. We have made decisions that have not come across as well as we had hoped they would, but we have learned and we have listened and we have tried to learn from those mistakes and those decision-making processes and improve on those. You see us in town halls across the county. We rotate those town halls every year, whether they be in-person town halls or phone town halls, and you'll be able to answer just about every question or ask any question you want pertaining to the county. We've increased our participation with our municipalities. Westminster has been a huge partner that we've really enjoyed partnering with. Westminster has some open spaces that we've partnered with. The light rail station is a collaboration of a lot of different entities, but Adams County was definitely a big partner in that. And that's one of the most successful RTD stations that we have out there. And we only see growth coming from that. And, we've partnered with housing along 64th, housing along 70th, Lowell Boulevard, community housing, low-income housing, you name it. We've been partners trying to help the community and make sure that everybody in the community is well served. Some of the other things that we've done, we're definitely working on this COVID crisis. If you have not heard from the other commissioners that have been on here, you can go to adamscountycovid19.org, and I believe it'll be put up in the chats or on the screen. There you go. And you can find all kinds of resources that are alignable throughout Adams County. So it's not just specific to Westminster, but Westminster is a huge density of population for us. And so we do focus on Westminster a lot because of that density. Some of the task force teams that we have are response and recovery teams, are aging adults, business support. We have food for aging adults. We have food services. We have just staying in touch with our seniors, business support. We have the PPP and the business relief loans, child care. That's a huge issue right now, and it's something that we're trying to address. And our commissioners who sit on these are, on the phone just about every day. I know I'm not sure I'm really happy with Zoom because I don't get time to even eat. So it's from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. I believe I spoke to Juliet last night at 9 something because I was still on Zoom. So some of the other, task force or food assistance, I will tell you that I champion the food assistance and basic essentials task force. And one of our wins that I'm very proud of is we partnered and we studied who needed help and where were the gaps that we could fill. We had monies that were given from the Adams County Foundation. 200,000 of that came to the food assistance and basic essentials task force. We decided we wanted to know where could we fill gaps that were needed, and we decided we would work with the school system. So Westminster Public Schools got the majority of the money that we were allotted, basically because of the amount of food that they were serving and the clientele that they were serving. Not only were they serving the kids, but they were also focusing on the families and making sure that our families throughout this COVID-19 pandemic and the crisis that we were seeing were still fed, and we need to make sure that they're still fed. Our healthcare, that's another one that we've been focusing on. I champion the uninsured and underinsured task force. One of the things we wanted to do was focus on our immigrant population. And as Westminster knows, there's a huge immigrant population in Westminster. And so one of the things we saw was a gap was whether or not there was testing for our immigrant populations. Most people know that immigrants are very skeptic and very, they don't like to go into these standardized hospitals or anything. They're not sure of how they'll be treated. They're not sure of what resources are available to them. So we wanted to make sure that we had testing available for those populations. And the reason I say this is a lot of those immigrants are essential workers. Those are the people working in your stock rooms. They're the ones working in your farming departments or farming fields. They're the ones working at your restaurants and your, just about all these places that have been deemed essential. Those are some of our, undocumented communities. So not only does it help them and their families to stay safe, but it also helps the community to stay safe. If they know that they've been tested and they know that they're not asymptomatic or they're not carrying a virus that could negatively affect other people, then they're safer at our jobs and our workplaces. And that just means more safety for our community. So we felt that was a very specific target we could hit. And we secured 800 tests. We are in the middle of a 10-week program where we're offering those to our immigrant populations. If you are interested or have members that are interested in being tested, please contact one of our partner groups, Cultivando, Kids First, Servicios de la Raza. I think there's Growing Home and Tri-County, and you can contact any of those and Adelante, and you can contact any of those, make the connection, say that you're interested in the testing program, and they'll put you in touch and get you scheduled for a test. And it's open for any immigrants, including their families, whether or not they're immigrants or not. So if they have a household in Adams County that has children or adults or anyone living in that household, if there's an immigrant in that household, then anyone is qualified to go and get the test from that household. And so, moving on, I just want to say some of the things that I'm very proud of being a vet. One thing that I did notice when I came and started working for Adams County is there wasn't a lot of places for vets to go to really kind of, be in solace and, remember their time and their loved ones and the people that they served with. And so we finally are putting together a veterans memorial. And the purpose of the Veterans Memorial is not to take away from any of the memorials that our cities have or our municipalities have, but to enhance that and bring enlightenment to all of those and say, look at these wonderful memorials that we have across the county in Westminster, in Northglenn, all of these municipalities. And we also want to make it a statement that we are Adams County, and we will be here for our constituents, and we will remember the sacrifices made. And so our Veterans Memorial, which can be found on Adams County's website, and I'll put that on later. I don't have it with me right now, but I'll put it on later. It's on the Adams County website. But it will be a replica of the USS Colorado, which is the first ship that was named after Colorado in the United States Navy. And it'll be a replica of that, which is full scale. And so it will look like a ship on the lake at our Adams County Regional Park, which is going to be absolutely incredible with memorial walls and walkways and seating. And it's not going to be an exact replica. It's going to be kind of a version of the ship, but it will have masts, I believe, that stand about 35 feet tall with lighting, and then water activities and fishing and all of that. So that's one project that I'm very, very happy and proud to have worked on. The last project that I wanted to talk about is being a foster child, knowing the system and how the system works. In Adams County, before we built the Peetman Ellis building, which is in Westminster, we built the Peetman Ellis building to identify and really bring our services into a coalesced place. And we wanted to make sure that we had 501 groups, we had wraparound services, whether they were from the county or outside of the county, to service our community. One of those is foster kids. And what we did know is that we could not house foster kids when they were removed from their homes in a government facility like that. That was not conducive to their well-being. It created a lot of trauma. It created all kinds of issues, not only for the child, but also for our staff. And so we identified 2 homes that we call now Homes for Hope. What we do there is it is a family environment. We have volunteers it's run by our foundation. Then it's contracted out to a certified group to run the home. And what they do is they bring the kids in when they're removed from a home. It doesn't matter if it's 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. When they're removed from the home, they're brought into a secure environment, a family environment, with food, clothing, any resources these kids would need. And it gives our staff the security and the time to really work on their case. Can they be reunified with their family and in a timely manner? Or can they be reunified with kin in a timely manner? Or is there a necessity to find a responsible and reliable foster family that they can be placed? And that was a missing gap that we had. And I'm very, very proud of the program that we were able to create. I championed this program. I know the reasoning behind it. And it's something that I want to expand. And I know that the rest of it's made national news. And I know that the rest of the state is looking at it as a pilot program and a program that they may want to replicate in other areas. So I'm very happy of those things. I will kind of back off right now and see if there's questions and anything I can answer.
Yeah, you're going to yield your time to me. Okay, so it looks like we have Carrie. Carrie is a fan of you, Commissioner Tedesco, and what you've done as a foster parent who works with Adams County. She's sharing how fabulous you are. And, you know, if you're just hopping on, which we've had a couple of folks that have, Brad Beck, hello, Brian Head, Enrique. It looks like we have Lauren Seymour and so many others that have kind of hopped with us. Commissioner Tedesco actually gave us a nice, really condensed bio of everything he's done and who he is and his core values. He touched on his family, his daughter that just landed her gig over at one of the top 4 accounting firms. Congrats to her. So side note, there are jobs that are out there even during this time. That's why we've continued to do our job fairs that are virtual. We'll have our 3rd one here on June the 11th. So if you're looking for a job or know someone, direct them our way. That's completely free events and program. But he also touched on a lot of the working groups during this time. So when COVID kind of unraveled or started really spreading across not just our state, but nationwide, Adams County was quick to pull together working groups. And when I say quick, I mean, it was within the next, after the initial week that we had started pushing out information, Adams County really started connecting with a lot of their community partners. And when they did that, they actually broke a lot of their activity, and Commissioner O'Dorisio touched a lot on those working groups into various components of what our needs are. Business to food security challenges, senior needs, foster services, etc. And so each of our commissioners have really been hands-on in these working groups. And so Commissioner Tedesco just touched on several that he's been engaged with, especially combating that food security, helping the immigrant community and population, and really staying in tune with the needs of overall members, regardless of what sector they're in. So Carrie, thank you so much for that quick note. It looks like we also have our past chairman, Brian Head, who's thanking you for joining us and for your long track record of supporting the Westminster Chamber. And I think that does speak volumes and is a testament, you know, we can, and we touched on this yesterday, it was like 9 o'clock at night and we're both on the phone and we're like, geez, this is gonna be the last call, but it's gonna be a great one that we end on. And we shared, you know, how it doesn't have to be either or. You're not just focused on the community and you disregard business, or you have to focus on business and you disregard the overall community. That's not how it works. For us to really survive, thrive, and grow, that relationship has to be hand in hand. And we have to know kind of the needs and wants of our businesses, their employees, and be able to provide for the overall community. And of course, since they feed into business, it just makes sense. So we appreciate your continual support on that. I don't see any questions. So if you're hopping on, you have any questions specifically for our Adams County Commissioner Tedesco, it could be related to COVID. It could just be about him and some of his efforts or any of the content that he shared, type it into the chat box. I have a couple of comments and questions, unsurprising to you, I'm sure. So one of the things you touched on was your support for the immigration community right now, and how recently you've made available about 800 tests for that specific community. You're partnering with organizations around, so it's not just here in Westminster, but it's around Adams County. Several that you touched on, we have their information on our website, Servicios de la Raza and Grow and Home, both of which are on there. And there's about three others that you also highlighted. Can you speak to, if you're aware, I don't know how long ago that was implemented or when it was announced, how the usage on that currently?
So the usage on that is slow. I believe we've only been in place about 3 weeks of the 10-week program. We have about 100 tests that we've utilized, maybe a little over. I don't have the last week's numbers, but we should be over 100 of those tests have been utilized. What we're trying to do is gain the trust of our community, and a lot of times government doesn't facilitate that trust. And so we brought in our trusted partners, and those that I spoke of, like Servicios and Adelante and Cultivando and Kids First and Tri-County. And, we're working with Salud, and we're trying to build that trust to say, look, this is not about gaining any information from you, tracking you, any of this. This is about getting you the resources that you need in a time that we know you need it, and we know that you want this service. And so we just tried to make it available. I mean, there's no expectation of what is a minimum amount that would be a success or what is a maximum amount that would be a success. Any tests we're able to provide, we own those tests, and we'll be able to provide them. If we can't provide them all to the immigrant population, then we're currently in contact and trying to see how we can get that out to our homeless population as well. We're trying to find out, is there a way we can test our homeless population, but because the test takes 5 to, however many days to get results back, how reliable is it for us to take that and be able to get those results back? And in the meantime, really keep those people isolated. And where do we keep them isolated? How do we deal with that on the homeless side? And that's something that this task force is really making progress in doing. We just don't have the tests available to that population yet. Now there are other entities that are working on that, either through the state or through Tri-County or through some of the fire departments have even started up programs. I know Thornton has a very unique program, and we just had them on our task force to talk about that program and how it can be implemented in other areas. And I believe someone from Westy Fire was on there as well. So we're being collaborative. We're trying to bring in everybody and show everybody what programs are out there, what's available, and how to connect everybody so they can each do whatever version they want of whatever program they decide is beneficial. So, it's all about collaboration. And in my mind, when I make these decisions, it's about equity. Is it only benefiting one area, and is it causing harm to other areas? Because you can't just put in some of these programs, without knowing what that harm would be to others that are, maybe still feeling, the pressures. I mean, our business community is one of them, and I see a lot of these programs coming out that are great for our kids and, working families, but our businesses are the ones that are being kind of, put out there to sacrifice, right? And we can't do that. I mean, it has to
Absolutely.
be symbiotic. I mean, like you said, we can't survive one way or the other. I mean, I went through my entire career representing the workers, but I guarantee you the workers were just as important as the company, and the company was just as important as the workers. And some of the asks there had to be a real hard talk about what that reality was. And do you really want that? Because it could make things very difficult for this business to even survive or succeed. And so those are conversations we have to have.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you touched on that. Yesterday we had Business with a Beat. So we highlighted a business that's kind of around the area. They're family owned, and the idea and the concept, they just on their own kind of shared that they hadn't let go of any of their employees. They're doing their best to hold on to them. They started out family based, and they're less than 50 employees, but each of those are considered family to them. So sometimes when we think of business, and that's really the concept that we're trying to change right now in society, just in general, is when we think of business, we're thinking of those larger entities or articles that we've read specific on those. We're not thinking about our small businesses, which are over 70% of the economy is our small business community nationwide. And then if you look at Westminster, it's over 94%. So often those small businesses are the ones that are trying to do their best and are caring for those workers and ensuring what's available to them. But I'm especially glad that you're partnering, and that's the key to this, is that there's so many outlets that are out there, and we're all trying to information share and vet as much of the information that's out there as possible, so that people are actually hearing and seeing the right information timely and can move on that. And so with that being said, I'm going to find out information about that, those immigration or immigrant tests, excuse me, and we'll include that on our resources page so we can try and push the needle on getting some people to take those right there with you, when it's uncertain, they don't have that trust, and when they're fearful of certain other things, they might not put themselves in that situation, even if it is helpful to them. We touched a little bit on food insecurity and funding that was given from county to our area school districts. Thank you for giving to Westminster Public Schools a good bulk. We had our superintendent and our board chair, Ryan McCoy, for Westminster Public Schools several weeks back. They touched on the thousands of food options that they've been providing to their students and the community surrounding. So for a full report on how many they were and who they're giving it out to, all of that stuff, you can actually find that previous video. We have the report on our COVID website as well on the chamber. If you're interested in perusing through what that looks like, it's westminsterchamber.biz/COVID-19-updates. Now we have a comment that's more from, again, it's from Tina. This one is actually related to her personal experience. She would like to speak with you on the area of adoption. So grandparents raising their grandchildren, and being a former CASA, an actual grandparent who's in this situation of raising her grandkids, there is absolutely no help. So she'd love time to chat if you're open to that. I think what we can do at the very end is also kind of share your phone number and your email so we can make that available to folks so they know how to reach you. it'd be great. Do you have anything you want to immediately touch on that comes to mind?
I do, and this is really a sensitive area. There's a lot of controversy behind this. We've tried to run some legislation in the Capitol. Some of the things that we've run into are, you know, parental rights and the grandparents' rights, and we've tried. I believe it was Shannon Bird and Dominic Moreno that both championed some legislative language, and I apologize, I don't have that off the top of my head, but it did deal with the rights of grandparents. And you know, we've modified, I won't say we've changed the human services system, because that is something that I've been trying to do in the 8 years I've been here, especially around foster and adoption. I believe it's an antiquated system. I'll probably get a whole lot of mail on this, but I believe it's an antiquated system, and it's not up to the time that we live in now. And it doesn't provide the resources adequately that we try to provide, or we want to provide. And so there has to be willingness to change that system. I'm not seeing it as of yet, but I am seeing the modification of the system as it currently exists. And some of those positive changes are the movement towards kinship reunification, whether that be back to the parents, which is the #1 goal, or with a family member, whether that be grandparents, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, whatever that may be. We want to make sure that they're back with their family, because honestly, the people who are going to love and care and treat these kids, you know, like their own, are their own. And you know, I'll give every kudos, and you know, I'll give every example of a foster parent that is amazing, that are taking care of kids that aren't their own. And I'm not trying to take away from that. But at the end of the day, when you have blood relatives taking care of their kin, there's a different meaning behind that, and that's really what we're trying to do. When I was a foster child, it bothered me to no end that I did not know where I came from, or who I was, or what, you know, what is my history, what is my past. And it bothered me my entire life. I didn't find my biological parent and parents until last year. And last year was the first time I met my biological mother, and I actually met her at the state fair because we wanted a public place to go and meet. And she's a wonderful lady. She went through some serious times, and I have no animosity towards her for allowing me to be, you know, raised in a different, you know, environment. I learned a lot, and I grew up in a Native American and Hispanic household, and I learned a lot about the, you know, underserved and undervalued communities, and what struggles they have to deal with. So, I mean, I can only say that I was blessed by all of this, and to be serving my community now is, you know, that's a blessing that you know, not many people have, or you know, expect. And I just want to continue doing that. Grandparents, I agree, they make wonderful wonderful parents and you know, guardians. I will say though that if they don't have custody, they tend to spoil a little bit more. But
they're the sugar givers. If they encourage the rule breaking.
But I do believe that that is a strong area that we have not been able to really kind of capitalize on. I do think, and I don't want to take away that we haven't had wins and we don't have a service there. Our staff and our volunteers at, you know, either CASA or Foster Source or any of those, if you want to talk to any of those people, those are the people you want to talk to. The Adoption Exchange is a great resource. I have plenty of time. I know you wanted to ask me if we could chat. My email is ctedesco@adcogov.org. And if you want to send me an email, or you want to have a further conversation about any of this, I'd invite you to do so.
Ooh. There we go. Okay, so thank you for answering that. And you know, I was letting you go over it, even though you know I'm a time Nazi, but I love your story, and I know you didn't go into a whole lot of detail about connecting with your biological mom and that, and I know you have personally with me, and it's just to see that your actions kind of line up with your experiences, and what you face is generally what you take back into office. I think that makes everyone uniquely positioned to answer those needs in our community. So for those of you that are tuned in and have any questions further for Commissioner Tedesco, his email is included in the comment section. I have it displayed briefly right now up here. Thank you to Gary McCune and several others that have hopped on. We are at the end of our broadcast. I know you thought you weren't going to fill it, but we filled it and went over. So thank you so much, Commissioner Tedesco, for taking the time this morning to be here with us. For all of you that commented or just kind of viewed the video, thank you for spending the afternoon, morning, or the Friday morning with us, and just kind of enjoying some of the content that's been shared with you. If you have comments or questions you didn't get around to asking, you can always type those in and we'll get those addressed for you. And if you're watching this on replay, let us know by giving us that hashtag replay so we know who's kind of come back and if you found this content valuable. Before I close out, I want to remind you that next week we have a full lineup again for you, from the Colorado Restaurant Association to Commuting Solutions to touch on remote workforce, and starting with our mayor on Monday, 11 a.m. here for the city of Westminster. And I know we've had some questions over this last week related to specific local or city of Westminster, so please come back around that time. I'll try and carry over those questions for you, but know that you can come back at any point and ask us those. So thank you again, Commissioner Tedesco, for spending the morning with us, and to everyone that's tuned in.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all your fellow, business leaders that are part of the chamber. What a worthwhile, program you're putting on, and I totally support. So thank you.
Thank you.